God is the mind with which I think. God is the mind with which you think. What's good, fam? We made it to lesson 45 of A Course in Miracles. What a wonderful time to be alive. Me and you are going to learn some powerful stuff today, or like we've talked about, should we say, unlearn all the junk that is keeping us from perceiving all this powerful stuff that we are going to remember today. So I'm going to go ahead and begin reading, but before I do, I just want to mention and introduce a higher level concept that the course gets into. And there's really no good reason for me to mention this right now, but I just want to bring it to your attention, and we will pick up on it a little bit later through our lessons, and it will all begin to click in. But I was thinking about this recently. Everything we see is an idea. Now, the course talks about how whenever you're identifying yourself with the ego, you see things in this world like stuff, money, material things, and you believe whenever you give it away to somebody, you believe that you are lacking it now. So I'm going to use this for example. We're going to use a speaker. If I were to give this Bluetooth JBL speaker to you, and in the moment identifying myself with the ego, with this body, with this world, while I give this speaker to you, it's gonna feel like I just lost something. I'm gonna either want something in return for me giving you that speaker because I feel like I need an exchange of something, and I feel like if I just gave it to you, or if it was taken from me, I feel like I just lost a piece of myself due to all of the images that I placed on this really meaningless item. And it's very neutral. Remember, our thoughts, we are either thinking with God and seeing this for what it truly is, or we are identifying ourselves with the ego and putting our own senseless, insane thoughts on everything that we see, and therefore we feel like we are lacking when we don't have something in the world. Now, the idea that I wanted to bring to both of our awareness is that that's what that's what the ego believes is giving. You give and you no longer have. But what's actually going on here, because me and you are not the ego, we are not the body, me and you are love and light, and we are one another, we are reflections of one another, we are free. Although we may appear limited in these bodies, we are really not these bodies. So be glad, because you are eternal, you are infinite, you are creator, you are a pure expression of love and light, and whatever you would like to call God, whatever word works best for you. But that is exactly what you are, and what I am, and what everyone is. Now, whenever you give something from that perspective, you're actually strengthening the idea and concept of abundance within you and that other person, because that is what we all are. We are abundant. We are literally one with and a part of all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. So we can never be lacking anything. Now, let me make this a little more usable so we can understand how this clicks in with everything. And trust me, we're going to talk a lot more about this, but I just wanted to bring it to our attention because I just felt like it's the right thing to do. So whenever you understand that whenever you understand, and whenever I understand that everything we see in this world is really an idea. That's all it is. Everything is an idea. Everything that we see is an idea. And we are going to repeat that. Everything we see is an idea, because whenever you know that, you no longer feel like you're lacking anything, because ideas can be thought up at any moment in time whenever you feel like it. You could think of any idea and tune into that frequency and that station. Now, for example, this may appear like a speaker in this world to the asleep person, but what this really is it's just the physical manifestation of the idea of sound amplification, if you will. This, before it appeared in the form that we know in this moment and we see today, what it was an idea. A child of God who is also a creator, just like God, because God created us in his likeness and image. Therefore, we create just like he does. So we create not with our hands, not with moving stuff around in this physical world, but with our thoughts and ideas. And we give more and more and more attention to certain ideas, therefore strengthening them, and they get so big that they begin to appear in this physical world by manifestation, if you will. Now, let's continue this before we begin reading today's lesson. So the speaker, which was an idea, that's all it was whatever the individual thought. They wanted to create a device, technology that amplifies sound, that makes it more clearer, that makes it louder for you to hear from a further distance. Whatever the case may be, it was a simple little idea, and it was given thought and thought and thought, and all of that thought began to form around one another and just build up and build up and build up. It was an idea, and now it appears to be this physical speaker. But we have to understand that nothing we see means anything, and we have given everything we see all the meaning that it has. And whenever we release all the images that we've put on everything and see things for what they really are, we'll understand that this is an idea. It may appear to the sleeping person that this is a speaker, and of course it is in this world, but what it really is just a whole bunch of material put together, and it is translating an idea to us. So whenever we see this, or any form that the speaker may take, we are not really seeing a speaker. Whenever we are in our woke minds like we are right now, what we are actually seeing is a translation of the idea of sound amplification. Now, that may be a little advanced, and there may be no reason why we have to know that right now, but I just felt like I wanted to let that out there, because whenever we know and understand what we just discussed, now can we understand that at the basis of everything we see, at the basis of these glasses, at the basis of that mic, at the basis of the device you're watching this on, at the basis of our cars, at the basis of any physical thing in this world, at the very, very foundation, it's an idea. If we go ahead and take this cone shape right here, okay? The starting point was the idea, and more and more and more thoughts began making a wider, more greater amount of ideas surrounding the original thought, and then the top manifestation, it appears. So what we are experiencing right now is just a whole lot of material things in this world that are translating the idea to us, and most of the time that idea is not pure, because we have put all our junk on what we think everything is. But whenever we release our thoughts about what we think everything is, due to thinking that because we are identifying ourselves with the ego, when we step away from that, like we talked about yesterday with the light, and we remove all of the interference that is blocking the light from fully shining, when we remove all that interference, now can we see everything for what it really is, which is just an idea. This body is an idea. Whenever you see this body, you are seeing a translation of the idea of who I am in this body. And again, I'm not too sure where your understanding of this information is, but I just think that this is really good to know, and I believe that it was given to me to say at this moment in time for a reason. And take whatever you will from what we just discussed, and just know that you don't have to fully understand it right now, or even if you do, just know that we are going to discuss this as we go along, and that is going to help us, me and you, understand that once we remove all our junk from this world that we've learned, and we return to true knowledge and perception, now can we use what we just discussed about everything being an idea to create. Now we know how to give deliberate thought and think only that thought by directing intentionally and deliberately all of our focus on it with discipline and this trained mind. Because we're training it, we direct all our focus and attention to that thought, and it begins small, like the triangle. It looks like this, begin, and then more thoughts, and it builds up until the physical counterpart will be in this world. And now when someone sees the physical counterpart, which may be a phone, me and you will really know that at the basis of this phone, it began all with an idea. And that's how everything is created in this world. And this is what me and you are here to do, is create. But we can't create whenever we are in a state of worry and doubt and fear and lack, because when we're believing that we are lacking something when we really aren't, then we can't create freely because we feel like we are imprisoned to some degree or another. But whenever you understand that although I don't have that dream car that I want right now, or I don't have this physical thing that I want, remember, you have access to the idea of it right now. So even if I really wanted a JBL speaker so bad, but I didn't have it, pretend it was nowhere here, and I was sitting here and I really wanted it and I felt like it was lacking in my experience, then I am in no way in the process of creating that to come about in my experience, because I am focused on the lack of it rather than the attainment of it. But whenever I know that that JBL, regardless of its physical form, is an idea, I can then close my eyes. Whatever's easier for you. You could learn how to do it with your eyes open, which is a little more advanced. But when you're first learning, you could close your eyes and you could give thought to whatever it is that you desire. Let's just say, for this example, the JBL speaker. And I think of the idea that it is, not the physical speaker, but the idea behind the speaker that it's translating to me. And I tune into that frequency of that JBL speaker, and I think and think and think more and more thoughts about that, and it gets bigger and bigger. Then there is no other option but for that to come into my experience, so that way I could experience it in its fullness in this world, in its manifested form. So we're talking a lot about creation right now, and we're not supposed to be, because we're still on the unlearning phases of the lessons. But I believe that you are more woker than you think, because me and you are here together, and you would not have been able to have access to what me and you are discussing right now and understand it in the way that you do if you were not ready to understand. So just know that everything's happened for a reason. Let's dive straight into this lesson now, and then we'll discuss this, apply it together, and talk about what we applied, and just enjoy this moment while it is here. So you already know what to do. Pull up to lesson 45 of A Course in Miracles. If you don't got the book, the PDF is in the description. Pull up, let's read together, and let's see what we come across in this lesson. Lesson 45 of A Course in Miracles. God is the mind with which I think. Today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They are nothing that you think, just as nothing you think you see is related to vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. One more time. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Basically, what we are starting off right now with in this lesson is that me and you right now, and we're not going to use us as an example because I believe we're pretty woke. But let's just say when we are asleep, or we're going to use people of this world who are sleeping still, they are not actually seeing. And me and you, although we may have vision right now, when we're asleep, we're not actually seeing. We are simply perceiving the image. We're perceiving the images that we've put on everything. We are perceiving fear and worry and doubt, or we are even perceiving grandiosity and I am better than, or higher than this, or this is greater. For example, designer products. You could look at a designer product and it appears like it's on a pedestal higher than something else in this world. But remember, everything is the same. So me and you have placed a lot of our own ideas and images, regardless of they perceive good or bad, better or worse, higher than or lower than. We have put all that junk on things when we are asleep and identifying with the ego. People of this world have done the same thing, and now we believe that we are seeing that, when really we are just perceiving the images that we have placed upon this idea that was stemming from God, and we do not in that moment have true vision. So that's kind of what this is talking about right now. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what vision will show you. You think with the mind of God. Therefore, you share your thoughts with Him as He shares His with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. Remember, God is the mind with which you think. To share is to make alike or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. So before we continue, one thing I do want to say to kind of build off of what I began with today was everything is an idea. If I am identifying with the ego and you take this speaker from me, or I give it to you and I get nothing in return in this world, no physical thing in return, like money or whatever, no trade-off, I feel like I just lost out on the situation that just took place. I feel like I am lacking something now. But whenever you understand that the idea never leaves its source, then you understand that I strengthen the idea of that speaker in both me and you. Here's another example, an even better example that the Course does describe in very great detail in the text. So let's just say I have an idea, okay? I am the creator of this idea. No one's ever thought this before, and I create a brand, okay? Let's just say I create woo woo beanies, okay? That's probably not even a thing, but let's just say woo beanie barn. Woo beanie barn, okay? That's like the first thing that came to my mind. Now, woo beanie barn is an idea, and it in itself is it's an idea. That's exactly what it is. Now, I'm the only one who has this idea right now, that because I'm aware of this idea, I created it, woo beanie barn. Now, if I were to tell you about woo beanie barn, about this idea, and tell you what my plan is with it to get it into motion, and tell you my concepts of woo beanie barn, if I were to give that information to you, it never left its original source, which was me. So therefore, I'm not lacking the idea of woo beanie barn because I shared it with you. I actually strengthened the idea in me because I shared it with another child of God, which is you. And now that you are thinking of woo beanie barn, I am thinking of woo beanie barn. We are both adding more amplification and power to the idea of woo beanie barn, therefore strengthening the idea of it. Because the idea never left its source, I am not lacking anything. That is how real giving works in this world. Whenever you are woke and understand who and what you are and the power that lies within you, you can never be lacking. And because you create ideas and you share them with people, they are strengthened because they never leave you, because you are their source, because God is the mind with which you think. So that's just a good little thing to keep in mind to help understand some of these concepts, is that whenever you give, you're actually strengthening the idea in both you and the receiver, regardless of if you get something in return in this physical world or not. Therefore, your thoughts are in the mind of God as you are. They are in your mind as well, where He is. As you are part of His mind, so are your thoughts part of His mind. Where, then, are your real thoughts? Today, we will attempt to reach them. We will have to look for them in your mind, because that is where they are. They must still be there because they cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation. Our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying yesterday's idea. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible. Instead, We will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. We will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. One more time. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. It is the will of God, which cannot fail. Begin the exercises for today by repeating the idea to yourself, closing your eyes as you do so. Then spend a fairly short period in thinking a few relevant thoughts of your own, keeping the idea in mind. After you have added some 4 or 5 thoughts of your own to the idea, repeat it again and tell yourself gently, "My real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them." One more time. "My real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them." One more time. "My real thoughts are in my mind and I would like to find them." And by us, again, through repetition, repeating this over and over again, it is reminding us that we are willing and we want to finally see the light. We are tired of seeing the worry and the doubt and the fear that we think exists within this world. And whenever we are repeating, "My real thoughts are in my mind, I would like to find them," we will find them, because that is God's will and it cannot fail. And remember that our will is one with God's will whenever we are in our right mind. It is only whenever we are identifying with the ego, which is not real, that we are thinking that we could want something other than what God wants for us. But how are we even to determine or know that whenever we are not in our right minds? Insane, right? That's exactly what it is, which is why being in our right mind is so crucial, because when we are in our right minds, everything plays out perfectly, because it has no other option but to. Everything's always playing out, but it is only me and you who interfere with that and get in the way. And even that's too strong of a word, because we cannot get in the way of what is destined to happen, of God's will, of what is, of truth. We can never get in the way and interfere with that, but we can get in our own way, therefore block ourselves from perceiving all of the love that's already around us. So much of the time we are asking for things in this world. We're asking for stuff that we feel like we don't have, when what we have around us, we haven't even been using to its fullest advantage. We haven't even been milking all of the things we have, meaning we haven't even been using them in ways that we haven't even thought of before. We are simply just looking around us, thinking that we see lack, and we think that this other physical thing in this world is going to bring us pleasure and make us feel better than we are feeling right now, which is just insane, because that may be true. You may feel better in the presence of this thing that you feel like you're lacking right now, but the crazy part is that you could feel good right now as if it was already here, because you are in control of the way you feel, and because me and you are practicing deliberately how to offer thoughts that will cause us to feel good, that is what is going to cause everything else in our world to fall into place as we would like it, because there's no other option but for it to do that. We are the only ones who ever get in our own way. Then try to go past all the unreal thoughts that cover the truth in your mind and reach to the eternal. Under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. Beautiful. Whenever you were a child, whenever I was a child, we were brand new to this world, and we were pure in our vision, and we remembered so clearly who we were. Although we seemed innocent because we couldn't speak words like this, we probably knew more than what the people around us knew, even though they knew how to walk, talk, and all this other stuff that we think is normal in this world, because a baby can't speak, which is what me and you were at one point in time. We were genius creators, and we knew everything about everyone, about everything in this world, about all that is. We were literally pure still before we have learned all the clutter in our mind that is causing us to not be able to fully perceive who we really are. Now, remember, the thoughts never leave you. They never leave their source. So that pure perception that you once had when you were a baby is still within you because it never left you. And you can reach that point again, and you can feel joyous everywhere you go. If you remember for the holidays when you were young and those felt like the best times of your life, or you can remember when you were younger, whatever may have brought you just unspeakable joy, you can feel that way now if you return back to that perception, which is very feasible. You can do that, I can do that, and it is what we are learning and have been learning for the past 45 days. One more time. Under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. They are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They will always be in your mind exactly as they always were. Everything you have thought since then will change. But the foundation on which it rests is wholly changeless. It is this foundation towards the exercises for today. It is this foundation toward which the exercises for today are directed. Here is your mind joined with the mind of God. Here are your thoughts one with His. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven to God the Father and to God the Son. For such is the place you are trying to reach. You will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet, even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven, which is within you here and now, and always has been, always will be, will never leave, and can never leave, because it is who you are. In the shorter exercise periods for today, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two as you repeat the idea throughout the day to appreciate your mind's holiness. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of Him whose host you are, and thank Him for the thoughts He is thinking with you. End of lesson 45 of A Course in Miracles. That is a lot to digest, and I hope that you picked up what was just put down. I know even me, I am still kind of trying to grasp everything that we just read just now as well. But remember, me and you are reaching very high right now. We are reaching all the way up there, and all the way up there is continuously evolving. So me and you are literally keeping up with our evolution by moving in the direction of all that is, of God, of being one with who we really are. One thing that I believe would be beneficial to close this off with today would be to pay attention to the way you feel. Whenever you feel good in any moment in time, you are evolving. You are keeping up with the expansion of who you really are. You are seeing what you're looking at right now in this moment with the same perspective as God is looking at it. Because remember, God is the mind with which we think. God is the light with which we see. God is my source. I cannot see apart from Him. Now, check this out. We cannot see apart from God. Whenever we do, we are simply not seeing at all. And we'll know that whenever we feel any form of negative emotion, boredom, worry, doubt, fear, frustration, anger. We'll know that when we're feeling any of those emotions. But whenever we know that even if we are in anger at any given moment in time or depression, and we move up the emotional guidance scale, as long as we're moving in the direction of up, we are fulfilling our purpose because we are remembering who and what we really are. So just keep that in mind at every given moment in time. Ask yourself, how do I feel? If I feel love or any form that love may take, then I am in that moment seeing with God. I am using the vision that is mine, that was given to me, thanks to God. Or I feel fear or any form that fear may take, then that is not a bad thing. Don't worry. All that means is an indicator letting you know that in that moment you are simply seeing the illusion. You are simply asleep and believing that what the ego is projecting out there is real. But remember, fear is not real. It is only in our own mind that those barriers to love exist. And when we remove those, we can reach such heightened levels of consciousness, such heightened levels of awareness, such a stronger bond with our creator, with who and what we really are, and have access to thoughts that are on that magnitude. There's really nothing that we want other than that. Although in some moments we may feel like we don't want that. I don't see why anyone would think that, because it's pretty insane, but that makes sense whenever you're identifying with something that's insane, the ego, which is not really there. But we have to just understand that this is our journey individually. Wherever you're at with this information and relationship to God, you can always evolve more and even close that gap more and more and more that you have imposed between you and God. I can close that gap so much to where me and God become one, because that is his will, and that is truth. That is who and what we are, and the power that lies within us. And it is only in this insane world that me and you have learned to adopt all these unnatural thoughts that caused us to obscure the light with which we see. But now that me and you are here in each other's presence, understanding what we're learning right now on even greater levels than we've ever understood before, trust me, there is nothing that you cannot be, do, and have. And I believe that that is a great stopping point. So until tomorrow, I will catch you for lesson 36 of A Course in Miracles. My bad. I will catch you for lesson 46 of A Course in Miracles.